YouTube, what the crap's going on? Heir of Carthage here, back in Total War Rome 2 Emperor Edition Beta, doing some online battles. This is the last battle that I played against this guy, and I very much enjoyed the battles with him. It was a lot of fun. And let's see what happens in this last one. He's picked Parthia versus Rome. Before the patch, I know that Parthia was a very tough thing to deal with for Rome, and so I've brought a very unorthodox Rome build to try and deal with Parthia. I've got quite a few skirmishers, and then I've got a bunch of spears and just a couple of cavalry. To be quite honest, in this patch, Roman cavalry, it's not terrible, but it's not good. And they don't have a lot of options via cavalry. Now, Praetorian cav is still fairly strong, but it's a melee cav. And remember, melee cav equals long grind-out fight. The rest of their melee cav are fairly medium in terms of stats. They'll get beat by most other units on the battlefield. They're not expensive, though, which means the Romans can field a particularly large number of cavalry fairly easy. And their stuff's not bad, it's just not great, and that's fine. Rome was known for its heavy infantry, and they still have great heavy infantry. So in this battle, I've got 6 Triarii, 4 gladiator spearmen, 2 auxiliary cav, which again, you can see it's a decent cav unit. It's just that Roman cav is no longer super cost-effective. Then you've got 2 auxiliary Balearic slingers, 3 auxiliary Syrian archers. These guys are capped for the Romans just like they are for Carthage. And then I've got 2 levies. And the levies, well, let me go show you my opponent's army. His army definitely scares me. He's got 2 Persian hoplites, 4 Persian light archers. He's got an Eastern cataphract and a camel spearman here. He's got a Indian war elephant here with another Eastern cataphract. And then he's got 3 noble horse archers swinging around behind me. These guys have better melee stats and still have nice bow stats, so definitely cool units, you can see there. And then, yeah, he's got a couple more units here. He's got 2 more Eastern cataphracts and another camel spearman. I think he was expecting me to bring a lot of cavalry to try and counter his Parthian cav, but the thing is my Roman cav would have just gotten destroyed by his Parthian cav. You saw what happened when he brought the Aspis cav, and the Romans certainly don't have Aspis cav. So yeah, a few battles ago, my cataphracts destroyed his Aspis cav. And so there was really no thought in my mind of bringing a lot of cavalry. Now this is risky because it's harder to protect my skirmishers with infantry. Look at this, all my archers and stuff getting a lot of good shots of these cataphracts. And I'm using my Triarii to keep him at bay. And so what I do here is, my army is, it's tricky. The Parthian has better skirmishing. He has 3 horse archers and then 4 foot archers. He's going to win the skirmishing engagement. My archers are better. So what I do is I go ahead and take the charge against his camel spearmen. His camel spearmen have trample and they scare my horses, but it's not going to do enough. So I go into a quick wedge formation because I want to punch through his camel spearmen because they're light. And you can see again, my wedge formation does pretty successfully punch through his camel spearmen. So now what I'm going to do is pull through because I've punched a hole in his line, and I'm going to try and get to his archers. And he sees what's happening here, and his cataphracts are roaming around looking for an opening. They're not getting it. My Balearic slingers just ate it from his Eastern archers, and so it's causing a little bit of problem. But yeah, you can see my auxiliary cav here is going to be able to punch through and threaten his archers, and this is what I need. Back here, he brings his noble archers up behind me, and this is a huge risk to me because these guys can do some pretty serious damage being behind me. So I'm going to have to turn my archers to shoot at them, and then I'm going to take my auxiliary cav and turn around and charge them out, because I need them out of my way. But they're already getting kills, and I have to get my general away from them too. So unfortunately, his cataphracts came and chased off my auxiliary cav, but not before my Syrian archers didn't cause some damage to some of his Persian light archers. But my auxiliary cav is in big trouble here, so I've got a couple of options. I'm going to go ahead and push forward because there's really no point in me sitting here and skirmishing. My opponent's going to get the better of it. And with his noble horse archers temporarily detained, it's going to give me the chance I need to push forward. His units are way out here and not really ready to come in. And he's very fearful of my gladiator spearmen with his shot cavalry. I'm not sure that he needs to be, but he is. In a prolonged fight, those gladiator spearmen will damage his shot cavalry very badly. But it's if used properly, I actually think they can do quite well. So his camel spearmen do get cut down versus my auxiliary cav. His cataphracts actually charge into the back of his camel spearmen, but it's still going to be a tough fight for my auxiliary cav. But since they didn't get a good charge, the Eastern cataphracts are going to have a more difficult time here. My cataphracts are fighting against sword cavalry. His are fighting against spear cavalry. So it is going to be a little more tricky. Because he has no more cav up here, my general can get back here and destroy some of his Persian light archers. my Triarii, I engage his Persian hoplites just to make sure they can't support a cav fight anywhere. And then I bring my Triarii over here. And all of my Triarii at this point, except for these guys, should be out of formation attack, because I want them to break up and engage the cavalry and be able to kill it quicker. So yeah, now his cataphracts are trapped. They were actually killing my auxiliary cav, but they're not going to now. So yeah, and you can see in the infantry fight, my general manages to rout the remaining Persian light archers, which now means my archers can focus on his horse archers, and this is exactly what I need. My opponent brings another eastern cataphract in to try and chase my general off, and he's going to succeed. My general has to get away from that eastern cataphract. But over here you can see one eastern cataphract gone, and this is great for me. My opponent really needs these cataphracts for killing power. He also has these elephants for killing power. So now his elephant charge is coming in. He charges against my gladiator spearmen. Not a bad idea. They're pretty light spearmen, and they're definitely not going to stop elephants, but at the last second I go into square because it gives a bracing bonus, and I just need to hold his elephants up. Not perfect, but it slowed them down a little bit, enough for me to run them amok with my levies. So this is why I brought my levies, so they can lay down a whole lot of pretty good fire here against his elephants at close range, and that's exactly what I did. The elephants turn around for just a moment to flee, and that was perfect. Did the job perfectly. They still creamed my gladiator spearmen. So yeah, again, auxiliary cav here just to tie cataphracts down, and then I get my my gladiator spearmen in after his camel spearmen, and his elephants actually start to drop now at this point, and I'm going to chase them back again with Triarii. So I managed to neutralize his elephants. They have less than 100 kills, so very fortunate for me. So elephants down, one unit of cataphracts down. My opponent now is in a tough position. So he brought his infantry. Look how long infantry fights. His guys are drawn out into a long line. It takes forever for infantry fights to finish. And honestly, this is why I think Parthian players shouldn't go as heavy on cav as my opponent did here. And it's because infantry is now harder to kill with cavalry. It just is. You have to get good charges with shot cav or rear charges while infantry's fixed. See how these guys are fixed? If my opponent would have brought more Persian hoplites, he could have kept me from cutting him down quickly, and then he may have had chances for rear charges with a smaller number of more capable cav. But again, I brought a lot of spearmen on purpose, and it was to make my opponent's job scarier and to hopefully make it more difficult for him. So when his units do get into melee with me, they're going to have a hard time. Triarii are very tough spearmen, very tough. And then you can see my archers and javelins. So whenever he gets into close combat, again, my levies killed his elephants, and now they're going to kill a bunch of his cataphracts. So that's the reason why I brought levies. They're not particularly good, but their javelin attack can be a great supporting tool. It won't be devastating in and of itself, but when thrown into a fight where the cavalry are already engaged, it can accelerate the death of the enemy cav. So at this point, honestly, I never expected to be in a decent situation versus Parthia with Rome. But I think that Parthian players are going to have to rethink how they play against Rome. In the previous patches, it was probably a little easier because the cavalry was a little bit better, like especially noble blood cav was better versus infantry than it is now. Cataphracts, though, can still be devastating versus enemy cav and infantry. You just need to use them right. And as the Roman player here, of course, I didn't want to make that easy for my opponent, so I brought a lot of swordsmen, or a lot of spearmen, and a lot of skirmishers. I wanted to make it difficult for him to get an advantage on me. It's hard to say. I definitely think that Rome is definitely still a beatable faction with Parthia. I just think you're going to have to rethink a little bit how you do it in this patch. Even see how long his light hoplites held out in this fight? These guys seem like a good bargain. I'd bring more of them and use them kind of like I did in the other match, just to kind of ward off enemy cav a little and enemy infantry, leaving an anvil for your guys to strike. The light lancer cav that I brought, not particularly strong in and of itself, but it worked as a hammer strike too. With my heavier cataphracts pinning down those Aspis cav from the front, the lighter units were able to charge from behind and help escalate the fight, get it done quicker. The same thing could happen to infantry. If a cataphract lays down a great charge like this onto the front of infantry, do a quick charge with the light cav into the back of them, and boom, they'll be gone. Again, you can already see that cataphracts, they still have a devastating charge. This was into a unit of gladiator spearmen, which are very capable spearmen. But, the longer he stays here, the more cataphracts he's going to lose. So that charge was devastating. It needs to be followed up with another charge, or with infantry or something like that. So, again, I think Parthia definitely still has a chance versus Rome, and actually could be a very big danger to Rome. You just have to try and use them in a unique way. I do think that the nomads right now need some help. I think that the nomads in campaign, they get access to young axes and step archers, which is a foot archer. I think they need both of those things in multiplayer, and if they would put it in there, it would probably balance the nomads out. Just having even a little bit of infantry to help set up hammer and anvil charges, and then having the foot archers to be able to add to the punishing power of the horse archers, I think would give them a lot of flexibility. Because right now the nomads are having serious trouble because cavalry killing power against infantry was nerfed basically in this patch. So the nomads are particularly suffering against infantry-heavy factions because they really don't have a whole lot of easy ways to kill them. Not to say again that it can't be done, it's just going to be more difficult. Wow, that's a lot of arrows. Yeah, his general's under some very heavy fire right here. That's his general right there. So yeah, interesting battle this time. Again, not sure that I really expected to pull this off with Rome versus Parthia. I do think my opponent probably should have rethought his build just a little bit. With a little more infantry, I think that this would have been a much more dangerous game for me. And I probably wouldn't have used Parthian swordsmen. They're pretty expensive. I probably would have just stuck with Persian hoplites. I don't need to win an infantry fight. I just need my infantry to keep enemy infantry busy. And then at that point, my cataphracts can lay down the punishing rear charges that finish the fight. These cataphracts, some of them got a fair number of kills too. But again, against a lot of infantry, it's difficult. And I had a lot of these Triarii here. I should be charging these guys in too, but I was probably typing something to my opponent. Let's see what's he got here. He's bringing in his noble horse archers for a charge against my levies, so I bring in my general to try and counter him. That's a great way to get my general killed, probably. I go ahead and start laying some fire in here with my Balearic slingers. Try and finish off his general. We finished off the Eastern Cataphracts. Great games to my opponent. I really do hope you all enjoyed these. I am really enjoying the multiplayer in this patch. If you're one of those people that gave it a quick try and you're like, what the heck is this? This patch is screwy. It's different. It doesn't make sense. It is very different. Give it a chance, though, would be my advice to you. Give it a chance. Think about it. Think how it changes the fight. Again, I'm sure that I'm going to start getting my butt handed to me as soon as it's released, because people are going to get on here immediately and start developing some kind of gimmicky meta builds. It's always going to happen. It doesn't matter how you balance the game. But I like it in the sense that from an amateur standpoint, it makes these battles more dynamic, more interesting. It makes most of the factions much more viable. Even the RDAI, think about it. Hoplites basically got buffed in this patch. RDAI have extremely sturdy, cost-effective hoplites. Now they're not a bad faction. So it's just one of those things that, I really think it draws the factions into better balance. Yes, the nomads are probably suffering a little, but I think they'll get tweaked before it releases in its full form on the 16th. I'm guessing you'll see some changes made because the CA's already done some hot fixes in it. And to be quite honest, their work that they did on this is excellent. I'm really loving the campaign, really loving the online battles. This is an excellent change to the game. If you've been waiting to buy Rome 2 because you were concerned about whether or not it was the right game to buy, I think it's been a good game to buy for a while now, and I've enjoyed it since I've owned it. Yes, there was a lot of issues with it when it released, but I mean, the game has slowly changed, and I've just found myself really, really impressed with this patch. It is very good. So kudos CA, excellent work. Really a good patch, really a good direction for the game in my opinion. Little fine tuning here and there, and I mean, it's just fantastic. Rome 2 for a while has been my favorite Total War game. Most of that is probably driven by the fact that I love this time period. And to be honest, though, I actually really do like the gameplay in this game. I know some people don't, and they really prefer Shogun 2. That's fine. Or you prefer Rome 1. That's fine, too. Everybody has a game that they prefer. For me, I really prefer this one. Because a lot of the little glitch things and other problems when it released have been fixed, and they're no longer an issue. And to be quite honest, for me, there's nothing like a family tree or something else that's going to ruin this game for me. It doesn't affect my immersion or anything else like that because I was never immersed in the family tree as it was. Yes, I understand it's different for everybody, and I'm not saying you're stupid or wrong for thinking the way you do. I'm just saying this is why I like it. And so, again, for those of you who haven't tried the game, I would recommend it. This game is fantastic. With Empire Edition coming out, I think it really puts it into a place that, and I know it's going to sound mean towards I don't mean it that way. I think this is all where we hoped the game would have released. And yes, it's a year later, but man, I don't care at this point. It's great. It's fantastic. And, I know a lot of people are still mad because they pre-ordered the game. It wasn't what they thought. It had a lot of glitches. But again, I'm one of those guys that, I can't change the past. Did it make me happy when it happened? No. But I'm one of those people that if someone learns from their mistakes and they work to fix it, I don't hold it against them. And this is one of those cases where I don't hold it against CA. They released a game. They wanted to make it great. They stuck with it. They kept patching. They kept listening. They kept changing. And honestly, this is fantastic. I love it. Anyway, I've done enough talking here. No, they did not pay me to make this statement. It is my own personal opinion. You don't have to listen to it. If you disagree with me, it's fine. I'm not going to ban you or delete your comment or anything else. You're always free to disagree with me. Anyway, Heir of Carthage, signing off for now.